If you were clinically delusional, could you make the most absurd binding vows in Jujutsu Kaisen? I think so. Let's talk about it. Okay, first of all, today's video is in response to another one I made recently about binding vows. And I've actually got a couple videos on binding vows for anyone who wants the deep dive. But the short version is, I believe that you are the purveyor of your own binding vows within Jujutsu Kaisen. Meaning, when you sacrifice something in a vow in order to gain something else, you are the one that judges that that sacrifice is worthwhile what you are getting. But you can't just say, oh, I'm going to give up eating French fries on Tuesdays in order to become immortal, because that's clearly not equivalent, right? And it needs to be. You can't cheat the system per se. But what if you truly believed that giving up French fries on Tuesday was worth becoming immortal? Well, then I think it would work. And that brings us to the poster child of delusion in JJK, Takaba, one of the strongest characters in the series with a technique said to rival Satoru Gojo. You know, it's not often that we get a glazing statement from the narrator that compares someone to Gojo as opposed to, cementing Gojo over someone else. So that speaks for itself. And today, Seth was asking me about Takaba in relation to Binding Vows, saying, what if he is the true Binding Vow prodigy and that could even be responsible for the strength of his technique? What if he made some sort of Binding Vow based in his own delusion, saying that, if I think this is funny, it will be true. Like, that's the binding vow he made to basically empower his comedian curse technique. And I do think that's a really interesting way to look at it, but I don't think that's what happened here. So just to be clear for anyone unaware, basically how Takaba's curse technique works is if he thinks something's funny, that becomes reality. Like, he is literally a reality manipulator. So Seth is saying perhaps that was an intentional binding vow. And because he's so delusional where he truly believes that that is how things should work, it worked. And again, I do think that would be a proper framework to put on things and would make sense, but I don't think it's the case, only because Takaba doesn't even understand that he has a curse technique. So he certainly wouldn't understand the nuance of crafting a binding vow like that. But imagine if he did understand it. Like, if we equipped Takaba with the knowledge of cursed energy and binding vows and how this system works, then I do think he would be capable of some pretty terrifying things, especially considering his kind of delusory sense of the world. Is that a word, delusory? But, again, I don't think that's the case. He's more so just a kid in a candy shop enjoying the experience.